kulungile sizwe, kulungile ma-Afrika, kulungile bantwana besinqubo somthuthu somthonyama. Inkosi mazithambe izicaka zivumile bantu bakuthi. Namhlanje imbongi yomthonyama izothi ngxe. Busana unyawo lutsha laseMzantsi Afrika. Le ndlela enihambayo ayiyi. Kulungile sizwe, kulungile ma-Afrika, kulungile bantwana besinqubo somthuthu somthonyama. Inkosi mazitshabalalisa umntu vumile bantu bakuthi. Konikela utshaba seMzantsi Afrika. Phakamani emaqandeni. Khazulani bukhalakhalele kwimvelaphi yenu. Fundani kokhokho benu. Fundani kwimvelaphi yenu. Kuthi unyathi buzwaka amaphambili. Wavuleni amehlo. Mamelani ngendlebe. Konikela utshaba seMzantsi Afrika. Phakamani emaqandeni. Manya yetshona mboneni imbongi. Fundani kwimvelaphi yenu. Kuthi unyathi buzwaka amaphambili. Wavuleni amehlo. Mamelani ngendlebe. Konikela utshaba seMzantsi Afrika. Phakamani emaqandeni. Manya yetshona mboneni imbongi. Fundani kwimvelaphi yenu.
Well, for anybody who doesn't understand what has just been happening, we've had an amazing praise singer actually take some of the messaging around today's campaign and put it into an authentically South African way of saying welcome to Protect Our Next. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to one of the most long-awaited campaign launches in South Africa. We're so happy to join each and every one of you, no matter where you might be joining us from. We're live today on our Facebook stream, we're live on our website, and we're also live on our YouTube channel. And thank you for each and every person that has joined us online and also here at Constitutional Hill. Well, my name is Belinda, and who are you, young man?
My name is Samuel.
I'm
Hello,
Sharon.
everyone.
Sam, are you sure that you are still a youth? You said that you were going to be on the stage for Youth Day because you were between the ages of 18 and 35.
No, I'm still there.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm
We did
definitely
hear,
sure.
though, that he was exiting very soon.
Yes, we did.
But thank you so much for joining us on this stage today on Youth Day. And like I mentioned, we are coming to you live from Constitutional Hill, one of the most epic places of our country's history, and it is a national key point. And today we'd like to hear quickly from the Constitutional Hill management, who are so excited that we are using today as a venue for our campaign.
Good
So
day.
let's take a listen.
My name is Zubia Ramashia, and I am with the Education Department at Constitution Hill. We teach children's rights and responsibilities to all children, and we also champion the protection of children.
From the Constitutional
Good day. My name is Zubia Ramashia, and I am with the Education Department at Constitution Hill. We teach children's rights and responsibilities to all children, and we also champion the protection of children from any form of harm, which is why we support the campaign, or we are part of the campaign, Protect Our Next, because we believe that our future generation needs to know what is good for them. They need to know what is harmful to their health. This is to ensure that we have got the future that will live longer and lead our nation. Thank you. Why we support the
There you
campaign, or
have
we
it.
are
We're
part of the
talking about
campaign,
young people
Protect
who are
Our
very
Next,
critical
because
to
we
leading
believe
the
that our
nation.
future
So Sam, you
generation
know, today
needs to
the
know
reason
what.
we're here is because of something that has been a killer, not just in our country, not just in our continent, but in the world at large.
Yes, Belinda. Ka Setswana gathwe maru ha se pula, musiko ona molelo. Definitely, they say, where there's fire, where there's smoke, there is definitely fire.
We need some of that fire today. It's ice cold, Sharon.
Yeah, we do. It's very cold here in Braamfontein.
But we don't need the fire that comes with tobacco and tobacco use, right?
Definitely, we need to free ourselves and our society from tobacco.
Well, the tobacco industry has been manipulating young people, in fact, manipulating people in general, but specifically young people. And why is that so?
Belinda, they say, like, in South Africa, most of the people who start smoking, they start smoking below the age of 18. And a quarter of those individuals, start smoking at the age of 10. Imagine.
Imagine, hey? And what were you doing when you were 10?
Me, 10 years. I was pushing bricks, I was pushing bricks, playing around, not even thinking about smoking, definitely.
Definitely. And get this, according to the World Health Organization, which is the ultimate source of credible information, the use of tobacco products by the youth has actually been regarded as a pediatric disease, and that is very serious.
Yes, Sharon. Just to support you on your statement, even the Department of Health recently, they have released a tobacco bill that is in the way that actually that will protect our next generation.
And this tobacco bill, it's not the first time that we've been in tobacco control business here in South Africa, is it?
No, it's not the first time. We are actually the department wants to improve so that we actually enforce more laws through this bill that they're working on.
And while the policymakers are obviously very key in getting this bill passed, it's the people ourselves, everybody, you at home, people right here in this building that are going to play a very key role in getting that specific bill actually passed. Let's take a look.
I've been going around the world and I've been looking for revival, cause what I see it's critical for all of our survival. People turning on each other, lovers put on a shelf in exchange for some hate and some greed to get wealth. The world's become a crazy place, it's everyone for themselves. So go and grab all you can get because it's gonna run out. We've been fed that lie so long now we believe without doubt. Seems it's coming to a close before we figure it out. How many years will we live this way? We just sit back and hope one day that all our cares will go away and everything will be okay. Without change we can't have satisfaction. Don't tell me to relax when you won't go take any action. But even with these problems I'm the eternal optimist. I keep on pushing forward when it hurts, and when I'm sick of it I sit and then I think of it. Get up again and recommit to be a part of something that could bring about some benefit. Gotta bring change from the inside out. Gotta stand up, lift our voice and shout. Gotta turn it around.
It's time for change. It's time to make a stand. It's our home. It's our people. It's our legacy. It's our South Africa. And together we can. Do your part, South Africa, and protect our next. Join the fight against the tobacco epidemic in South Africa. It's time for change. It's time to make a stand.
Did that warm you up a little bit?
It's our
Just
home.
listening to those words, it's our legacy, it's our land.
legacy.
Just get you
It's
interested
our
in what
South
this is all about.
Africa. And together we can.
Definitely when you look at a video like this, you realize when they say the secret is out, is that the tobacco industry, it has been said that 8 million people die from tobacco-related diseases. That's shocking.
I think it's definitely time to take the stand today. What do you think, Sharon?
I agree. It's 8 million people dying each and every year in the world, but in South Africa alone, 42,100 people die from tobacco-related illnesses.
That's one person too much. But on Youth Day today, I think it's very important and critical to hear from the youth themselves. So let's welcome Bateleur College today and hear from our young people what they think about the Protect Our Next campaign and the pledge they would love to take today. Let's welcome quickly to the stage Bateleur College, two of our representatives. We're so excited to hear from you guys today.
My name is Gemma and I'm 11 years old.
My name is DJ and I'm 19 years old.
Tina Abantu, pledge to the fight for the right to air that is clean.
Umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. Tina Abantu are the seeds who will grow into trees that reach over 100 feet. Tina Abantu pledge to fight for those who want free.
We will not accept defeat. We will not retreat.
Tina Abantu will open our eyes to blind.
To see. From the smoke that permeates the very air we breathe. Every minute of every hour, a cigarette is lit.
We will not cower.
We will not quit. Tina Abantu have the power to extinguish it. The earth is burning. Seas are churning. Knowledge is power. But wisdom is acting on what we're learning.
Make the mistakes
Of the past,
the second chance for tomorrow. Tina Abantu will be the last to stand. We will lead, we will not follow. To leave smoking in the past and have a smoke-free tomorrow.
Umuntu ingumuntu ingabantu, across our beautiful land.
Tina Abantu, a smoke-free generation.
To, together,
Together we can.
Tina
Abantu
will
rise
rise
from
from
the
the
ash.
Tina
Tina
Abantu
Abantu
for
for
a
a tobacco-free
tobacco-free
child,
child,
woman
woman
and
and
man.
You can clap now, everybody. Thank you so much, and it's always great to hear. Oh, let's first sanitize. It's always great to hear some poetry, but it's very important to understand what the meaning behind some of this amazing words are and what it's all going to translate into.
Tina Abantu pledged to fight together for the right to air that is clean. Tina Abantu are the seeds who will grow to trees that reach 100 feet. We the people pledge to protect our next. We will not accept defeat. We will not retreat. Tina Abantu will open minds and eyes too blind to see. From the secondhand smoke that permeates the very air we breathe. Every second, every minute, every hour a cigarette is lit. We will not cower, we will overcome, we will win. Tina Abantu, we have the power to extinguish it. The earth is burning, seas are churning. Knowledge is power, but wisdom is acting on what we are learning. Make the mistakes of the past a second chance for tomorrow. Tina Abantu will take a stand. We will lead, we will not follow. To leave polluted lungs in the past and have a smoke-free tomorrow. Umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. Tina Abantu will rise from the ash. Tina Abantu for a tobacco-free world for child, woman and man. Tina Abantu for a tobacco-free land. Say yes to the bill and no to tobacco, South Africa.
Wow, well, that is just beautiful, seeing the kind of fresh and funky South Africans that actually exist in this beautiful country of ours in South Africa. What really piqued my interest, though, did you see what they kept on doing with their hands? Was that something like, what is that about? It always reminds me of being in the same WhatsApp group.
So, definitely, it means being together. And when we become unified, where there's unity, there is hope. And if we do unify, there is hope for a tobacco-free generation.
But how do we actually fight the tobacco industry? They have so many people that are working on what they're trying to do, woo the youth. They have unlimited resources. How do we actually take up, this fight? Is unity enough? What type of people do we need in this fight?
Belle, there are a lot of tobacco advocates that are fighting in South Africa and across the globe. But this fight is not only limited to the tobacco advocates. We need scientists to do the proper research that will inform us on what the tobacco industry is doing, what tobacco is doing. We need the youth themselves to take part and say no to being manipulated by the industry. Like, we need everyone to join hands, parents, everyone to teach so that we unify together. That's why they say,
so we need to learn that.
Together, united. Like, when we are together, we'll definitely win the battle.
And it's really about a community, but the community is also extended, right, Sharon?
It is extended. It starts all here in this room, with everyone in this room, with everyone who's joining us virtually, and everyone beyond. Everyone must join in the fight.
And it's the community, it's our country.
It's our country, like he said, it's the scientists, it's the politicians, but we also want the youth to take over. We want the youth to participate, to lead this fight against the tobacco industry.
It sounds like a big ask, but I know that once we make changes within our community, and then our country, and then our continent, then our globe, this can actually work, don't you think?
Yes, it will work definitely, especially when the young ones, the new generation who have not started. We are not saying those who have started smoking. We are definitely advocating for them to stop smoking. But the young ones that haven't started, we want them not to start.
So you want to stop them before they start?
Stop the young ones, the new generation, before they start. Teach them the dangers of smoking so that we have a free generation from smoking.
I love that. Well, tobacco control is not new in this country. We're not talking about something that we just made up just a short while ago. We're talking about something that is at play for the longest time. And tobacco control, actually, like you just mentioned, we had some amazing advocates in this room that have been working on tobacco control for years, for decades. And we want to welcome one of them now, Zanele Mthembu. She's actually a public health advocate, and she's been working on tobacco control. We're going to have a conversation with her about how tobacco control has progressed over the years and why we find ourselves where we are now.
Yes, Belle.
Welcome.
Everyone help me welcome Zanele.
We need a sanitizer ASAP. In the meanwhile, Zanele, thank you so much for joining us today. Here's our sanitizer. Please don't sanitize her too much. Thank you to everybody who's making sure we're all safe in this room today. And just before we actually get to Zanele, we'd just like to show you guys something a little bit special, some messages of support from some of our other alliance or allies across the country. Let's hear from them now.
I am Mr. P. Ramdale, Member of Management of the Crestview Primary School in Chatsworth, Durban. There is much concern about the scourge of drugs in our communities. Hence, we have teamed up with the Anti-Drug Forum, the ADF, to implement measures to urgently conscientize the youth, our future generations, about the harmful impact of tobacco and other illegal substances on their lives. We have launched a smart club comprising of learners who are being trained as foot soldiers to spread the anti-drug message, commencing within the school. Some innovative methods deployed to contain this unprecedented scourge is as follows. Learners plan and enact sketches portraying an anti-drug message at our school assemblies. Planning and safely engaging in placard demonstrations at strategic points along our streets in close proximity to our school. Encouraging parents to actively involve the children will help prevent the decay of the morals and values inculcated over the years. We are also very happy indeed to partner with the Protect Our Next Generation initiative that focuses on empowering the draft bill, which will enable us to protect our lives. Together, we can overcome the scourge of tobacco and drug abuse. I thank you.
Well, how great is that, Zanele? We're already getting messages of support that time around from a principal at one school, and we were just talking about movement within our communities, as small as we are, to be part of this. So we can expect much more of that, though, much more support from those types of allies.
Yes, thank you, Belinda, and good afternoon to everybody. Indeed, it's such a great pleasure to be here and also to hear so much support, particularly from the schools, because in the main, as we are here today, the focus is on the youth. This country's youth is very important, and there's been so many interventions instituted by government and so many other people, but also with tobacco control, it's important for us to focus on the youth because of the dangers that are ahead of us, but also currently. We do know that in South Africa, when the Global Youth Tobacco Survey was conducted in the early 2000s, it revealed that the age at initiation in South Africa, that is the age at which our youth start smoking, is 9 years. And that is so, so shocking. And also there's been other studies now also conducted that age is coming up slowly, but still, it's still not on. We can't have young people starting smoking at an early age. Who is going to be our future? What is going to become of this country?
Some very scary questions. And just before you came up, I mentioned that you've been working in tobacco control for some time now. You probably started when you were a youth, right? And thank you so much for...
Still youth,
You're still a youth, sorry. You have to fight it out with Sam about that one. But thank you, Zanele, for joining us today to actually take us back a little bit, to help us understand why does tobacco control even exist? What is South Africa party to that makes us have to have tobacco control in our society? Some people might fight about it and say, guys, where are you guys coming with this? You just want to, mess things up for us. But actually, it's much deeper than that. There's an actual convention. We'd like to understand that from you today.
Thanks, Belle. Indeed, today it's a walk down memory lane. I think it's important for me to mention that tobacco control legislation, it didn't just spring up from the air. It was when the ANC was still in exile, when they were preparing to coming back home. That is when policies, the health policies as well as other policies were crafted. And so when the banning was lifted early 90s, and some of our exiles started coming back home, they gathered so many of us and started talking to us about what the future holds, particularly in regards to health policy intervention. And tobacco control was indeed in the pipeline. It just didn't spring up from the air. And the reason is that what we know today, the World No Tobacco Day, we're talking about exposing the tobacco industry tactics. It's exactly that. Because all those tactics started long ago. And countries, the budgets of countries is depleted unnecessarily because of tobacco use. And the industry playing in the hands of unsuspecting young people. And so, in 1993, we were still under apartheid laws. That is when the first tobacco legislation was crafted in South Africa. However, it was never implemented. It was only implemented by the first Minister of Health in South Africa in the democratic era, Mama Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. That was 1995. Now, there were so many loopholes then, which necessitated a review of the legislation. And it was reviewed in the late 90s. And then in 1999, that is when now we had an amended version. I remember then, I was still very young, but under the tutelage of Dr. Yusuf Saluji, and I was with the Cancer Association then. And so Yusuf would go around. At that time, Yusuf was still by himself, Savera, and other colleagues, and he would go around the country, talking to us, the young people then, and about the dangers of tobacco control. And I think what is important for us to note as well, South Africa was amongst the first countries to institute, to ban advertisement, promotion, and sponsorship of tobacco products. Now, when the legislation was amended then, I remember at Cancer Association, we were part of that process. And we would work with government, would work with the National Council Against Smoking. And I remember when there were public hearings in Parliament, we were there too. I also remember very well the sporting body, soccer. The soccer fraternity, they were the ones that were up in arms saying, you can never ban sponsorship of tobacco products because what's going to happen of soccer? And there also, we used to have the Rothmans July Handicap, the famous horse racing in Durban. Those ones too, they were up in arms saying, who's going to fund us if you withdraw a sponsorship, tobacco sponsorship? Now, look today, who is funding them? There is no tobacco sponsorship. And that is the road we have traveled. And then, globally, the WHO started engaging countries, member states, about the importance of negotiating a public health treaty. A public health treaty that is there to ensure that it protects the health of nations against tobacco usage. It also ensures that the human rights aspect is captured prominently there, but also to ensure that there is monitoring and evaluation of tobacco bill, but also the industry itself, and member states, countries now, to ensure that they domesticate their own national tobacco legislation. That is now, all countries, they needed to ensure that they align their tobacco legislations with the FCTC. Now, South Africa participated in those engagements. I was part of the engagements for over a period of 4 years in Geneva, representing South Africa, with Patricia Lambert, who was my co-negotiator as a legal expert, myself, public policy, for 4 years. Now, I think it's important for people to note this as well. As we celebrate this Youth Day, as we look in terms of the Pan-Africanism, we're not only talking about South Africa, we're talking about every other country in Africa. So this working together in Africa, we also held our own there. As we were negotiating in Geneva, we were negotiating together as a collective, as Africa. And we managed, it was very, very difficult to negotiate with the West, to negotiate with the US, to negotiate with China. But as Africa, we stood our own and said, we want Africa to be protected from this industry. Then we negotiated over a few years, up until 2003, and the bill was, we negotiated up to 2003, and then the signing of the FCTC, the instrument, the legal instrument, was on June 16, 2003. And South Africa, we were there. June 16, 2003 at 11 a.m. The former minister, Manto Shabalala Msimang, was seated signing on behalf of South Africa, the FCTC. And we took with us 2 young people. And so this day is so profound, it's so momentous, and it brings back memories for some of us. Because we took 2 young people from 2 schools in Pretoria to come with us. And as the minister Manto, late Mama Manto, was signing the FCTC, the young people were seated next to her. Because for South Africa, June 16, wherever we are, it means a lot to us. Then we signed, and our parliament ratified the instrument in 2005. And so that is the journey we've taken. So where we are now as a country, we are, the bill, we know it's been reviewed so many times. And in particular, we do know that then when the bill was crafted, when the FCTC was negotiated, there was nothing called electronic cigarettes. There was nothing called HTPs, heated tobacco products. Those things have just come now in the recent past. And therefore, that has necessitated our own bill, domestic legislation to be amended. And I must really, at this point in time, Bill, express our sincere gratitude to our own government and the officials of the National Department of Health for ensuring that all the loopholes are closed, all the loopholes are attended to in the bill. We hear and we do know that the industry is up in arms about so many aspects of the bill, because for them, what is important is profits over the health of the nation. Even now, during COVID, we hear them talking, making so much noise. Some of them, the things they're doing, they're just appalling, making masks that are written, whatever name they are, for during COVID. And also, you buy one, get one free. Whatever product you buy, you get another one free. And so, we know this industry, they are not who they say they are. They say they're a responsible industry. They are not. And the youth of South Africa must take up all the arms. Now, the arms this time around, it's information. We are here to inform the youth with information. And the department and our government and civil society, we've got very strong civil society in this country that knows health activism. And that is why we are here today, to ensure that the youth gets the information, the youth joins the movement, and the youth speak out.
Excellent. Thank you, Zanele. I mean, that was a mouthful, but I know that there were very key messages that came out from what Zanele said today. And I think it's very important, Zanele, for you to give us that little flashback of where tobacco control started off in this country, how South Africa was a champion in many ways, and we need to get back there. So, Sam, earlier on you mentioned a little bit about the bill. Zanele built on it a little bit more. But I think before we actually get to speak to the Department of Health a little bit more about this bill, we want to hear from young people about how do we understand this bill, and what would you say are some of the 5 key points that we need to actually remember about this bill. So think on that for a second. Let us now hear from another message of support through video again. And this time around, we'll be hearing from the National Council Against Smoking's board member, Professor Angie Matthey. Let's just restart her so she's got the volume all set and good to go. Let's hear from our team.
Good afternoon, everyone, and especially to the youth of South Africa, who are the focus of World No Tobacco Day in 2020. The prevention of ill health and disease is a cornerstone of public health. And from a public health perspective, the use of tobacco is the epitome of an ill wind that blows nobody any good. Apart, of course, from those who are willing to profit from the harms that their products cause to others. Tobacco use is therefore worthy of our highest levels of attention and action to protect all of us as well as the next generation. Here in South Africa, we have a relatively young population at 26 years of age on average. In the US, the average population age is 38 years, and in Italy, it is 45 years. So it's not hard to see that promoting tobacco products in young countries such as ours means decades of additional profits for tobacco companies, and at the same time decades of loss of income and loss of health, environmental degradation and early death for our youth. In chaos theory, they speak of a phenomenon called the butterfly effect. In a nutshell, it means that a small change in one system can lead to bigger changes in other systems. The youth of South Africa can instigate their own butterfly effect. Stopping smoking or taking a decision not to start in the first place will definitely lead to improvements in your own health. But within that personal decision not to use tobacco products, you also have the power to have a positive impact in other ways, such as helping to improve the health of your family or other people that you spend a lot of time with, and preventing the destruction, the environmental destruction and degradation associated with the cultivation of tobacco, with its processing, with its use, and with the disposal of the waste products like cigarette butts from tobacco. You will also be helping to inhibit climate change, and you will be helping to reduce inequality in our country. So I look forward to the youth of South Africa exercising the power that they hold to instigate their own butterfly effect against the use of tobacco. And I hope that they will do it in the name of Tina Abantu and of protecting our next generation.
Wow, that was really excellent. I think that actually deserves a round of applause, no matter that she is actually virtual today. Thank you so much. We've been wrapped over the knuckles to say that we need to definitely use our masks. So we'll be doing that shortly. I think what was important, something that Prof actually brought up just now, was that everybody actually has a role to play, and there's various issues that are at play. One interesting thing that she brought up just now was just the environmental matters, and I think that goes back to when we spoke about the health of our nation. The health of our nation could be in the health of our environment, it could mean the health of our economy, it could be just the health about anything in our society. But I think what we really need to understand before we delve a little bit deeper into the bill is what are those 5 kind of snapshot matters that we need to remember from the bill. And I'd love for you guys to take us through it, Sam.
Thank you, Belle. Just to piggyback from what you just said about the environment, the first key area that the bill talks about is making indoor and certain other outdoor places 100% smoke-free. What does that mean? You have restaurants. In those restaurants, you have smoking areas, and you have some of the staff who work in the restaurants, and the smoke lingers in the air, and they get affected by secondhand smoke. And you have children and patrons that come to the restaurants. So we want to make those environments 100% smoke-free. And you know, the very interesting thing is you have other outdoor places where people go and they sit there and smoke. And sometimes you find that it's closer to a building and it's closer to open windows. And some of that smoke goes into the building, and you find that the person inside doesn't smoke, and they get affected by secondhand smoke. What do you think? What's the second one, Cheryl?
So, you know, the second very important aspect of the bill is really introducing plain packaging of tobacco products and graphic health warnings. And this is very important because, you know, it reduces the ability of the packaging and the designs to actually attract new customers and lure people in. So, you know, when we introduce plain packaging, we'll be joining over 10 countries around the world which have successfully actually implemented plain packaging and graphic health warnings. It will make health warnings more visible. It will actually, basically, it's very key in trying to drive down, you know, tobacco prevalence. And, you know, the third key aspect, especially today on Youth Day, is the bill will regulate electronic cigarettes or vape products. And this is very important because right now, as we stand, you will see e-cigarette kiosks all over the malls, accessible, like children can actually access them in different flavors and different varieties. And these products still have nicotine, and these products are still harmful. And the bill will do that. It will regulate electronic cigarettes and vape products in the same way they regulate tobacco products.
As Mom Zanele spoke earlier about advertisement, that in the earlier phases where the bill was implemented, they talked specifically about advertising. So what the current bill will seek to do is to expand on the prohibition of advertising. That will maybe we look at point of sale. When you walk into any store where you find that tobacco advertising is on the wall, that thing on its own prompts young children, because it's very colorful, the advertising. It prompts young children to be curious about what's that, and then that might be it might lead them to wanting to experiment with that, and also to want to smoke. Another thing that we want to do is it's to ban brand stretching and brand sharing. What is that about? Mom Zanele spoke about what the industry is currently doing through the coronavirus. You find that they are advertising, they say you buy this, you'll get a free product, or they will give you a mask that is branded. And sometimes you find that there are products, like maybe a lighter, they will brand it. So we want to stop such things so that they don't advertise, because these things end up in kids' hands, in our generation's hands.
Definitely. Talking about these products ending up in the hands of children, the fifth key improvement that the bill brings is the banning of the sale of tobacco products through vending machines. So we still see vending machines in many places, like in casinos, in many other places, and no one can be standing right next to the vending machine to actually ensure that only over 18 people are actually accessing that. So, the bill will ban, the sale of these products through vending machines, and that's very important.
Well, thanks, guys. I mean, that, like you mentioned, are some of the, amongst others, the 5 interesting and main points of this current tobacco bill that we want passed in Parliament. And I think something very important for us to remember as well is that we need to understand how this bill actually affects us in our real life. Sometimes when we talk about legislation, it gets a bit heavy. People are like, I don't understand that. That's written, in a very legalistic way. But we need to understand what this means for us in our communities again, and then understand why this bill is so important. Would you agree?
I agree very much so, Bill, because at the end, this is the bill for the people. And therefore, it's important that the people that it affects, they understand it fully.
Thank you so much. Well, we'd love to call upon Lynn Moeng. She is the Chief Director in the Department of Health under Health Promotions, and we'd love to call her up into stage so that, Zanele, you can have a quick conversation with her, just reiterating the DOH, Department of Health's confidence in this bill and hope for it to be passed very soon with the help, of course, of civil society and you at home as well. So we'd like to welcome Lynn, and join me, everybody, welcoming her to the stage right now. Thank you also, Lynn, for reminding us about the social distancing. Even though we're in a tight spot here, we need to remember to sanitize and to make sure that we're all safe. So you can have a seat. I'm leaving you.
As you can hear, she's a government official and she's very strict about certain things. Thank you, Lynn, for reminding us. Just to say thank you, it's not only Lynn who's here, we've got Lorado as well, the team from the department. Thank you for joining us, for lending support. Your presence here is very important. Belinda did indicate that we do need to hear from government about a bit about the bill, a bit about legislation and what they have to say to us, because as civil society, we are here to support, we are here to launch the campaign that aims to support the progression of the bill up until its natural conclusion. That is, up until the bill becomes law and is signed by the president. And so as civil society, we're gonna be there. And viewers at home and people that are watching us and that have joined this conversation, they'll also be with us. And so thank you, Lynn.
For inviting us.
Yeah, thank you very much. And so I'll hand over to you just to hear what you have to say to us, and thereafter we'll have a few minutes just to exchange, to engage. Thank you.
I was informed I only have 7 minutes to speak. So
Indeed.
I'll have to cut out on a lot of messages which I had planned, but I'll try to choose the key ones, which luckily we've already heard about what the youth of 1976 did, but our message today is for the youth of today to uphold that vision of the youth of 1976. But we are also aware that some of the vision and their dreams and their aspirations are actually hampered by the use of the products that they find themselves engaged in, some of them without even knowing the consequences of what they are starting. They often start with experimenting and hoping that I'll be able to control myself, but often they don't. There are a few studies which have been conducted both in the US and in South Africa that indicate that 68% of youth, of smokers, attempt to quit unsuccessfully. And there was a similar study amongst youth as well, indicating that about 70% of young people attempt to quit. So the message here is that once you are in, getting out is not easy. So don't start. That's the key message. We are also hearing that in universities, there was also a study conducted in Western Cape, amongst the universities in Western Cape, that about 63% of students are using or have used what you would call water pipes, hookahs, shisha. That's scary. And that about 17-point-something% of them are smokers of tobacco.
Whilst you are there, Lynn, sorry to interject, because you're mentioning a very important point, particularly at this point in time of COVID. Can you talk to us about why is it an issue for that people are sharing hookah pipes, that people are sharing all the roll your own cigarette? Why is it an issue at this point in time?
I mean, from previous studies, though not many studies have been conducted, there have been studies reporting that sharing of these products, hookah pipes and whatever, you can contact diseases. Some would talk about TB, herpes, but obviously if we are saying COVID is through liquids, your saliva and whatever, meaning that it is a danger. We may not have done those studies here, but there are studies which are linking COVID to cigarette smoking. But also we know that this is a disease that affects your lungs. And smoking affects your immune system, it affects your lungs. So for me, it's an intelligent person would make that correlation. Even though we do have studies, we may not necessarily have enough, but the correlation is already there, and we should be aware of it.
Okay. Now, that's good to hear, and we're hoping people have heard that, and the youth in particular, we're hoping they're listening. Earlier on, you talked about the e-cigarettes, if I can mention that. Can you tell us more what the government is doing, plans to do about e-cigarettes to protect the youth of this nation and the youth of this continent and the world in particular?
These products are new on the market, and if we don't control how they are marketed, how they are sold, we will find ourselves with a system where we are not even able to control them. So we have included these various new products that are on the market in our bill so that we are able to regulate them, because currently we have no way of regulating them with our current act. So the regulations will have to be as strict so that we don't have our young people accessing these easily. We don't have these products being used anywhere in public spaces, because they are currently used as a socializing mechanism. And socializing means sharing. And young people are sharing. I mean, in our universities today, if you just go past, you see puffs and puffs, and people are excited thinking that these puffs are healthy. WHO has indicated that even though they might not be high in nicotine, but they have other dangerous chemicals. I mean, if you heard that there's lead in some of these products, and it's scary because as a country we have regulated lead in our paints, in toys, and now you have it in products that you have to smoke. I mean, young people need to be made aware of that. And in the era where we read about a lot of things, I don't think we should allow our young people to be confused by what industry is telling them. Search, WHO will give you guidance. And it's time for our young people to search for the right things and not necessarily search for things that will give them short-term excitement.
It's time for our young people to search for the right things, search for the right information that will empower you as a young person out there, that will empower your community, and you become a responsible citizen, because as we're talking the youth, government, civil society, and everybody, we are all empowering the youth to take responsibility for their own health, their families, their communities, and the entire nation. But also it's about being a responsible citizen. Now, we've got the bill in place. Can you tell us where the bill is now? Because as communities, as civil society, people, community as well, but also as researchers, as the South African community, we would like to know where is the bill and what is the next phase?
The bill we've actually almost completed the process out, especially when we received more than 21,000 comments on the bill itself. So we had to go through all of those. We had to go through all of those, collate and make sure that we take whatever that makes sense and that will strengthen the bill. But in addition to that, because it affects all of government, it's important that it's not just a health bill, it's a government bill. We're having consultations with various government departments to make sure that we are all on the same space. We understand exactly what we want to achieve, and each government's role has to be clear. So we're in that process, and once that process is finalized, the bill will be submitted for Minister to take it forward to Cabinet. And that's a process we can't exactly tell when, but I'm aware that it's one of the bills that have been prioritized. So it will go through. I can't definitely say to you tomorrow, next month, but we are in that process. We are working day and night to make sure that we do the right thing, we consult adequately, I mean, luckily for us, the delay has actually helped us, because as new products are coming in the market, we are able to strengthen those areas that were weaker at some stage in the bill. So it's a priority for us, and I can't tell you tomorrow, but I'm hoping as soon as we can finalize those processes.
Wow, South Africa, we've heard from a government official, Lynn Mueng, the issues concerning the bill, that definitely government is still committed to ensuring that the bill progresses up to its logical conclusion, and also that they're taking this very seriously. Now it's entirely up to us. It's in our hands, basically. So in closing, what would be your message to the South African youth about this bill, but also the life beyond the bill. Even beyond this ban, because right now we're talking tobacco, the sale of cigarettes are banned and other tobacco products. Beyond the ban, beyond the bill, the life after that.
I think the youth should realize that the bill, it's not only there to protect or to tighten lives or make lives of smokers miserable. It's to protect non-smokers as well. It's to protect you as a young person so that you are not lured into using these products. It's to protect you from having access to these when you had not planned to do it. So it's our belief that if young people understand the benefits for them of this bill, they'll be able to support it. Hence, we are engaging in these platforms to try and enlighten them, to make them aware, to make them understand what industry is telling them 90% of the time is not correct and it's misleading. They need to get the right information from the people who know best, from the people who know how to protect them. We are not only protecting current smokers, we are also protecting future generations. This is the aim of this bill.
I think that's the right way of ending it. Thank you so much, Lynn. And I think our youth throughout the country, they've heard that the bill aims to protect them in their future, to protect their health. The bill aims to protect the economy of this country. The bill aims to protect the health budget, which we so desperately need now during COVID as we move to NHI and beyond. But also the bill aims to protect each and every one of us, our health, our economy, our environment, and all that. Thank you so much, Lynn. And as the government has indicated, it's all in your hands, young people of South Africa. Kusezandleni zenu, kukunina ukubona ukuthi nenze njani. It's important to check where you get information. That is what Lynn has said to us. Be careful where you get information, what information you get, and the sources of your information. Thank you very much, Lynn.
Great to hear from Lynn Moeng, and like we mentioned, she is the Chief Director of Health Promotions within the Department of Health. Right now, it's been exceptional to hear the kind of information and factual information that needs to be in the ears of every South African, particularly young people. So right now, what we're going to do is hear from the civil society, and we're so excited to welcome civil society that is actually the backbone, the anchor of this Protect Our Next campaign. And Zanele will take my place here on the floor, standing, so that we definitely take care of ourselves and social distance on stage. So Zanele will take over from here, but in the meantime, we'd love to call up the very special components of our campaign, and that comes in the form of Severa Khalidin, who is the Executive Director of the National Council Against Smoking. Thank you so much, Severa. You can take up your space on the stage, on the sanitized stage. Catherine Egby, thank you so much. We're going to hear much more from you about your specific unit within the Medical Research Council, and you'll be sharing with us. Virtually today, we are joined by the other two great partners that we have in the form of Professor Pamela Naidu, who is from the Heart and Stroke Foundation. She's joining us today from Cape Town. And then we have Lorraine Govender, who heads up campaigns in KZN for the Cancer Alliance. Sorry, the Cancer Society. So Zanele, you will take over and you will moderate this exceptional conversation as we hear a little bit more about the organizations. And then you're going to take us through exactly why they are the anchors for the Protect Our Next campaign. So I'll leave it to Zanele, and welcome again to each and every member of this great team. Let's put our hands together while we still connect with our other partners from the other teams. Let's put our hands together for the teams. Thank you. So we'll be starting off with National Council Against Smoking and their presentation, and Severa will take it from there.
Okay, hi, good afternoon, Severa, good afternoon, Catherine. Afternoon, Pamela, afternoon, Lorraine. Now, good people, these are people, civil society organizations that are at the core of this campaign. the drivers of this campaign. It's good to have you. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zanele.
Yes. So if we can start now, we're starting with Pamela, right? Savera, okay? All right. So we'll start with the National Council Against Smoking, an organization that is well known in South Africa, basically, and it's been with us for ages, and some of us are prodigies of these organizations being groomed there in regards to tobacco control issues and public policy. Savera, over to you.
So, thank you so much, Zanele, for the introduction. And yes, the National Council Against Smoking is an organization that focuses on public health and health promotion. And our focus, obviously, is tobacco control. And we are over 40 years old, and we work within a health promotion framework. And as you were saying earlier on, we've been very instrumental in in the legislation that we have had for, more than 2 decades in our country, as well as in the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control.
Okay. Oh, that's much better. I hope you heard the first bit, right? Yes. Thanks.
Was it clear? Should she repeat? Okay.
You can take us through.
Yeah, take us through again.
Okay, sorry, I think the sound wasn't great, so I'm just going to say again that the National Council Against Smoking is over 40 years old, and we've been involved in tobacco control all of this time. And as Zanele was talking about the legislation earlier on, our organization was very instrumental in ensuring that that legislation was put in place, as well as involved in the lobbying for the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control itself. So we have a very proud history with people who have worked very hard in our organization. And we want to continue that legacy of being very involved in tobacco control, not only in legislation, but also we provide cessation support for people who want to stop smoking. We develop materials for people that, that are for other organizations that we work with. And we also take complaints from the public for when the legislation has not been complied with.
Wow, thank you, Savera. That's a mouthful. And indeed, the National Council Against Smoking, they're playing a key role in this country and in tobacco control, even during this COVID period, because I do know that when government needs information, the first organization they'll call is the National Council Against Smoking. Thank you so much. And so as we move forward, you mentioned the fact that you also deal with smoking cessation through your calls. I would like you to talk to us more about that, if you can, just for just a few seconds, because it's very key that people stop smoking. It's doable. It can be done. Do you agree?
Yes, of course, of course. Thank you so much. So we've been running a telephone counseling quit line for years, more than a decade and a half actually, and we provide support to people who phone in themselves because they've made the decision to stop smoking. And we give them some tools, we give them advice. We've also expanded that information by developing a booklet that has been in use also for about 10 years. When people call us, we give them the booklet. It's got in-depth information, so that goes beyond a telephone call. And of course, we're providing this information now on WhatsApp support groups, on our website, through our Facebook and Twitter pages. So there are many, many sources of information now, and people are using all of them, which is great.
Yeah, there you are, South Africa. You know where to go to if you need information about quitting smoking. And so now the council is involved in the Tina Abantu campaign. I almost said Tuma Mina. Tina Abantu. Of course, it's a Tuma Mina Tina Abantu campaign. Yes. And so why is the council involved in this campaign? Why is it important for you to be involved?
Okay, so we've had our legislation for a very long time. But when our legislation was introduced more than 2 decades ago, we didn't have, for example, social media as a form of advertising or as a form of communicating. And what we've seen, Zanele, is that the tobacco industry has used social media to reach young people. They've used celebrities through social media to influence young people to use these new products. We've also seen that there were no e-cigarettes or vape products in the past. There were no heat, not burn products. And our tobacco legislation, being so, so advanced when it was introduced, didn't know that 2.5 decades later, a new industry will emerge, the vape or e-cigarette industry, and these new products will emerge. So we need, to be able to communicate to our population, and particularly to young people, about the facts around these products, about the harm that they cause, and to reach them in the spaces that they are accessing. They're not accessing, encyclopedias of public health. They're not accessing journals. They're not going to university lectures about tobacco control. They're on social media. They are, talking to their own peers on WhatsApp groups, and we need to reach them there. And what we want to do is to put the facts out there, to put the links to other organizations that provide us with these facts, like our partners on this campaign, Cancer, the Heart and Stroke Foundation, the Alcohol, Tobacco and Other Drug Research Unit. We're putting out that information through this campaign, and we want young people to get access to the information, to make up their own minds. They don't have to believe us. They can go to other sources like WHO as well, pick their own sources, but also cross-reference with our sources and our Facebook and social media pages, and then make up their own minds, not be manipulated by the information that the industry is putting out. Use us as an alternative source, make up their own minds, and then share it, raise their voices, share it with other people, share it with their peer group, so that we can build up a groundswell of support for the campaign, if they agree with us.
Thank you very much. That's quite profound what the council is doing. You're doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I do know that a lot of people are getting help from the National Council. And we do hear, as we move around, people saying, well, the National Council is helping us with information on quitting smoking in particular. But also, from the other side, we do know the council, the work that you do in terms of supporting government. Thank you very much. Even in this campaign, thank you for the work that you will continue to do. Now we move over to Catherine, the Medical Research Association of South Africa. Catherine is responsible for alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. Catherine, welcome. It's good to have you here.
Thank you, Zanele. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. So please, could you start by telling us about your involvement in this campaign?
Okay, Zanele, they say knowledge is power, but I say knowledge backed by good science is more powerful. So the Alcohol, Tobacco and Other Drug Research Unit of the South African Medical Research Council is here to provide the scientific backing to the campaign. So we believe that when the youth have the correct information, they will be able to make more informed decisions. They will be able to make informed choices to understand the harms caused by tobacco. We know that we wouldn't have known that tobacco is this harmful if scientists were not investigating the harms caused by tobacco. If scientists were, showing a blind eye or just looking at what is going on and just, looking at the other way. But now we know that tobacco is harmful. We know that tobacco is not just harmful, but the product is engineered to be appealing, to attract young people. It's all through the works of scientists. So the Alcohol, Tobacco and Other Drug Research Unit is very proud to associate with the Protect Our Next campaign. We are proud to be able to provide the right information so that when they are disseminating this information, they are sure they are disseminating good science. They are sure they are not just giving people information based on people's sentiments. No, they are sure that what they are giving to people is what have been found in other places and within South Africa. Because many times we see information from outside South Africa and we say, oh, it may not happen to us. It happened in the United States. It happened in other countries. It won't happen to us. But we do have works done in South Africa here showing the harms done by tobacco. And so the South African Medical Research Council is here to make sure that there is access to this information and that the campaign is based on good science.
Thank you, Catherine. That's quite helpful to know that this campaign is not crafted just from the top of people's heads. It's backed by science. And this question comes a lot from people that, so who said that? How was the study conducted? The methodology, the design, and all that. And the MRC, we do know, is a credible institution, plus a whole lot of other institutions that we have in South Africa. We use the data that you give to us as civil society, and I know as government, to inform interventions and policies in particular. Now, if you can tell us, how do we ensure that there's a lot of fake news, there's a lot of data which people just wake up and decide 20% of people have quit smoking without scientific evidence. So how do we ensure that information that flows all over in our spaces is authentic, is credible, and is ethical? How do we ensure that happens to avoid fake news circulating?
Zanele, that's a very hard question, because the way fake news is being propagated nowadays is very difficult to know. So you most of the time have to rely on scientists to be able to differentiate between the fake science and the good science. Because nowadays we even have people employed by the tobacco industry to do science, in quotes. And so that's where the South African Medical Research Council comes in, because we are a reputable organization. We are known all over the world, not only in South Africa, we are known all over the world as a leading research organization. So when we look at the science that is being propagated, we will be able to tell you. We will look at the methodology, we will look at what it is that the people are looking at, the so-called scientists may be looking at, and we will be able to tell you if this is something you should take seriously or not. Sometimes some information are passed on as facts, but they are not. They are just hypotheses, what we call scientific guess. And so the South African Medical Research Council will be able to tell you that, okay, this is being published, but it's not a fact, it's a hypothesis. This one is a fact, that one is a hypothesis. So that's our role in this campaign, because at the end of the day, you need people with the specialization to understand, to differentiate, to give you that information so that you can pass it on.
Thank you for that. I also wanted to find out from you that I do know that there's quite a lot of studies that the MRC is working on, also feeding into the campaign. Is there anyone that you can tell us about, or any data that you want to lift and profile for this campaign?
Okay, so I'll just talk about one of them. So there's an online survey that has been published as a report, and we're working with the African Tobacco Industry Monitoring Institute in Sefako Makato University, Health Sciences University. And so we're looking at support for this bill, the Control of Tobacco and Other Electronic Delivery Systems bill. We were looking at South Africa's support or opposition to the bill. And we found out that majority of South Africans said they supported the bill. We also looked at support or opposition to the aspect of the bill that has to do with standardized packaging. That is pictorial health warning. So we were looking at how people perceived it. Is it something they saw that could help to prevent people from smoking? And we found out that majority of South Africans also support and believe that standardized packaging will discourage people from smoking. I think I would like to stop there just to...
Thank you so much, Catherine. If time allows, we'll come back to you as well, Savera. What I like most about what you said is that there are people who are supporting the bill. And so, South Africa, this bill is evidence-based. There are people who are supporting, there's science supporting the bill, and that is the right way to go. Thank you so much. And now we move to Durban, to the Cancer Association of South Africa, one of the partners within the campaign, Lorraine Govender, who works for the Cancer Association of South Africa. Lorraine, hi, good afternoon. Can you hear us? Are you on mute? Lorraine, can you hear us? I must wait? Oh, okay. Okay. Can you hear now, Lorraine? Okay. She's talking, but I think it's anyway, it's fine. As she's trying to link up, I think Cancer Association is one of the very important organizations in this country and in this space. Yeah, she's talking, I think it's the volume. Very important in this space because, Joe, what should I do now? Must I continue? Okay, alrighty. As soon as we can hear the volume, as soon as the volume is up, it's fine. I'll keep quiet. So anyway, Cancer Association of South Africa, they've been around for many years. I think it's more than 90 years, if my mind serves me well. And the work that they do is very profound, from education to patient care to research and so on and so forth. And their involvement in this campaign also, because they do a lot of educational work, they do a lot of engagement with communities, they do a lot of research as well, is precisely for that purpose, to assist in informing communities and their partners wherever they are about this bill and the good work that they are doing. And Lorraine plays a key role as she's involved in advocacy, as she goes around and as the organization works on their advocacy programs. Part of it is to talk about the bill, because we do know that one of the risk factors of cancer is smoking. And so that is how they are involved in this campaign. Tobacco use, rather. That is how they are involved in this campaign. And so, therefore, their participation in this campaign is very pertinent. But also, the other important part, they've got a footprint nationally. And that is why we need them, because they'll be going around the provinces galvanizing support for the bill, engaging with the youth, informing the youth about the bill, informing even their patients about the bill and tobacco to protect themselves, but also going beyond that. They also play a key role in ensuring that whatever is being discussed by the collective, they disseminate it further. They work with a lot of youth, young people, and we are sure that with their support and their participation in the campaign, they will add weight in partnering, in supporting what the National Council is doing and what the Heart Foundation as well is doing. Can she hear us now? Okay. Okay, maybe let's continue with the other questions as we're waiting for the Cancer Association. Savera, from the National Council Against Smoking, from your perspective, what do you think are the key aspects of this campaign? What is it that people must know about the campaign, whether it's messages? What are the key messages that the campaign seeks to advance for the people?
Can you hear me? I can't hear anything.
Hi, Lorraine.
Okay, are you showing the presentation? I can't see anything.
Hi, Lorraine. Okay, fine. You can then start by telling us your Cancer Association's involvement in the campaign. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. I'm so sorry, but I may have missed the questions, and perhaps I can just talk through my presentation if that's possible. And what I was trying to discuss earlier on was to talk about the evidence between tobacco and cancer. And we know that tobacco use is the single most preventable cause of cancer, and attributable. It's responsible for over 18 different types of cancer as well. So the evidence is quite clear in terms of the dangers and the harms of tobacco and cancer, the disease. And there is a very strong link between the chemicals. There's over 5,000 chemicals in smoke, and over 60 of those chemicals are carcinogenic to the human body. So it is extremely dangerous. So if we think of the disease burden of cancer on our healthcare system, it is huge. And therefore, our appeal to the youth is to make those informed choices now, to stay away from the harms of tobacco. And we see it every single day among the youth. We see the hubbly bubblies, we see the emergence of e-cigarettes, we see younger people also taking to smoking. So it is out there, but it's also up to the individuals to make the choice. If you consider that almost 18 million people die annually worldwide due to tobacco use, and in South Africa alone, 42,100 people die every year, it makes sense that the tobacco industry is going to look at the youth to bring in for the use of tobacco. So our appeal to the youth is don't start this dangerous habit now. So the Cancer Association carries out various campaigns throughout the year, and our focus mainly is when we start off in May with World No Tobacco Day, creating awareness on the harmful use and the risk is extremely important in reducing the burden of tobacco diseases and more especially cancer. So our campaigns are national. It's through our website. We have information on our website on the harms of tobacco. We do awareness campaigns, we do talks, we do presentations at corporates. Our engagement starts from grassroots level because that's where the biggest impact is needed in terms of creating awareness on the harms of tobacco. We also have a lot of, we know it's easy to say, you know, you need to quit, but giving support is paramount. And the Cancer Association has the eKick Butt program, which is an online program that is used to help support people that want to quit. We also have the Alan Carr Quit Smoking program. All of that information is available on our website. So there is a lot of support out there. We also have social workers employed in the organization that is able to assist people who want to quit. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lorraine, for that enlightenment about what the Cancer Association does and the good work your organization has been doing for the past 90 years. I mean, that's a very, very good legacy. And I'm sure so many people do know about Cancer Association. Now, I want to ask you one question. So what role will cancer play in this campaign? Tina Abantu campaign. Why is it important for Cancer Association to participate in this campaign?
As I've alluded to earlier on, tobacco use is the single most preventable cause of cancer. It's extremely important for the public to understand that. So if you consider the secondhand smoke in public areas, we have a huge outcry from the public almost on a daily basis. People writing to us about the harms of the secondhand smoke that they are exposed to. It's beyond their control. In private places, in homes, in restaurants, in schools, the exposure is huge. We as the Cancer Association, we have our care homes. We have direct impact. We can see clearly the harms done by tobacco use. And often, Zanile, it's too late. Because when you see the impact of smoking on an individual, it's often quite late. When patients start presenting with the symptoms, it means that the cancer is already there. It's huge. So we as the Cancer Association, we are in full support of legislation because we know it's the single most preventable way of reducing tobacco use in our country. So we strongly support the legislation. And we are extremely thankful that we are able to work with the T3C organizations who are all here to ensure that we bring down the non-communicable diseases in our country. We are all working together to show society the harms of tobacco use and reduce the burden on our healthcare system.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lorraine. I think let's move now to Cape Town, to the Heart and Stroke Foundation of South Africa. We'll get back to you with questions and the rest of the team members. As we move to Cape Town to Professor Pamela Naidu, the CEO of the Heart and Stroke Foundation of South Africa, to chat with her about their involvement in this campaign, what it means for them, and what are the key messages from the Heart and Stroke Foundation. We're waiting for her to link up. Perhaps at this point, is she ready? Not yet? She's online? Okay.
Yes.
Hi, Pamela.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Am I clear, Zanele?
Yes, very clear. Thanks, Pam.
Okay, great.
Alrighty.
So I'm really excited to be here this afternoon. Very auspicious day, June 16th. We all hold it very dear in our hearts.
Thank you, Pamela.
But it's also, remember, a day where we galvanized as a country. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I wanted to say thank you very much. Take us through your...
We hold dear to our hearts. It's also a day where we galvanized as a country. And today we want to galvanize even further to protect our youth, a very precious generation that we have in South Africa. So I just want to tell you a little bit about the Heart and Stroke Foundation South Africa on behalf of our team. I'm the CEO, and I'm very passionate about public health in general, but very passionate about specific risk factors that are associated with many disease onset, being one of them. Now, the Heart and Stroke Foundation South Africa was initiated in 1980, so it is rather an old organization as well. At the time, there was the vision that while it were cardiovascular disease, which includes heart disease and strokes, was a problem in mostly westernized countries, we could see at the time that it was only a matter of time when cardiovascular disease became a problem in Africa and Asia. And of course, rightfully so, because at this point in time, heart disease and strokes is one of the biggest burden of diseases in the country. So what we do is all our programs at the Heart and Stroke Foundation South Africa is operationalized based on our mission and vision, which is to reduce the burden of cardiovascular disease. And the programs are largely based on the following pillars. We have a health promotion program and disease prevention. Nutrition is a really big part of what we do. And then my particular passion is obviously around advocacy and policy and being a civil society voice. We do have, that's really very important to the tobacco control movement and to promote the tobacco bill, is our schools health promotion program, where we take a very holistic approach and we try and ensure that our young people start at a very foundation level to live a healthier lifestyle, or what I would prefer to say is to adopt healthy behaviors. Now, why is the Heart and Stroke Foundation so, associated so strongly with the tobacco control movement? Well, one of the reasons for this is because tobacco breaks hearts and it affects the way your brain functions. Now, we've heard from Catherine, we've heard from Cancer, we've heard from Severa, and of our team, that there is evidence to show that tobacco is harmful. We know that we can safely say tobacco causes ill health, okay? And similarly for heart diseases and strokes, tobacco smoking triples the rate of which you would actually have heart condition, and it doubles the risk of a stroke. So it's pretty powerful in the disease course. So if you take tobacco as one of the key risk factors, along with physical inactivity, poor nutrition, and structural inadequacies in our country, which includes poverty, you're going to, it's just simply going to make the burden of cardiovascular disease exponential, and of course other non-communicable diseases. What I want to add, which I don't think we've heard so far, is let us look in terms of the cost of tobacco. The cost not only to the people who smoke, but to the country, and of course the cost by way of profits for tobacco companies. So if you look at the cost of treating people who have been harmed with tobacco smoking, it costs around $2 trillion every year to treat people from the harms of tobacco. If you flip that, if you look at tobacco companies, for every person that dies from tobacco smoking, they make a profit of $10 million. Now you've got to see it obviously over time, over how many profits are included in this profit margin, which includes possibly the private sector and other people that have to benefit from tobacco smoking. So young people out there, we would like you to have a really holistic view of the harms of tobacco. Now, for cardiovascular disease, remember that if you smoke and you increase your dose, so what we refer to as a dose response, if the more you smoke, the less your body is going to be oxygenated. And then you can read up a bit more. I can't tell you all about it today, but of course, if you have less oxygen to your brain and your heart, it's going to cause phenomenal damage to your body. And so therefore, we have this wonderful partnership with CTFK, with NCAS, with MRC, with cancer, and our other stakeholders, including, very importantly, partnering with the National Department of Health. And we want to ensure that we not only push the bill, but we remind everybody about the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. And so I would like to leave it there. Zanele, you may have questions, but I do have my gear, which unfortunately I can't be present with you, but I'm going to wear it and say thank you so much.
But thank you so much, Pam. That's just the right way of ending it. And thank you for that presentation. And I hope South Africa, we've all heard, particularly the youth, we've heard how tobacco doubles the risk of stroke and how it impacts cardiovascular health. And Pam, these are the issues which people ignore, but also some of them, they continuously smoke because this is the information they do not know. Yes. And that is what is going to be happening. That is what this campaign is going to be doing. Information giving, public education at schools and all over, at all various settings. And that is very, very powerful and profound. Thank you so much to Pamela, CEO of Heart and Stroke Foundation. Now, Pam, you've spoken about the cost of smoking. Now, what would you say, about the impact to our health budget? You know, the smoking, the cost of smoking and the impact to our health budget, particularly as we move towards the national health insurance. What would you say to that? Okay. Savara, do you want to take that one?
Sure, I can take that one. Okay. Yes, so Pamela was just telling us about, you know, the global cost of tobacco-related harm. But what we know about tobacco-related harm is estimations done by the Tobacco Atlas, which they've done for all countries in the world. And what they've said to us is that we spend about 59 billion per annum in South Africa to address tobacco-related harm. And what's important about that is we collect less than 14 billion per annum in excise taxes. So that means that we collect only a quarter of what we spend every single year. So aside from the health cost, there's a huge financial burden. And what I usually say, Zanele, is that people might say they pay 3 Rand for a cigarette, or they pay 1.50 Rand, depending on where you buy it. Right now we're being told they're spending 20 Rand for a cigarette, but let's just forget that for a minute. That is only the first cost of a cigarette. The second cost of a cigarette is when you start getting respiratory illnesses, for example, like asthma or wheezing or even flu or COVID-19, and you then have to take time away from work, you have to pay for medical expenses, or you have to reduce the spend on nutrition or, you know, your children's education because you're spending it on tobacco. The third cost of of that cigarette is when you get a more serious illness, like we've been hearing from the Heart and Stroke Foundation and cancer, when you get one of those very serious illnesses where, you know, you might have to have surgery, or, you know, your cancer, you know, your tumors might have to be removed, or with your cardiovascular or strokes, your lifestyle has to change dramatically. Again, that's a financial cost because of the health cost, which is very different from getting the flu in terms of what you have to spend, and the fact that you can't work in the same way, that therefore you can't earn for your family in the same way. So the price is not 1.50 Rand or 3 Rand or 5 Rand per cigarette.
Thank you, Savera. So in other words, in essence, what you're saying, the claims that are made by the tobacco industry on their investment into the economy doesn't hold, because the harm is greater than the so-called investment. In actual fact, it's not even investment, because all they're doing, they're causing disease, they're causing death, they're causing disability.
Absolutely. So all the profits of those cigarettes or the e-cigarettes or vape products, shisha products, is going to the industries, but the harm is carried by the taxpayer. It's carried by our health system, and it is carried by people who have to sit for hours and hours waiting for assistance because there's so many people that are there with tobacco-related diseases.
The last one to you as well, Savera, again. We do know that government, before COVID, government was going to start taxing heated tobacco products. And e-cigarettes were going to be taxed as from next year. Do you want to talk to us about the taxation issues in relation to the impact of tobacco into the nation?
Thanks for asking me that, Zanele, because this is one of my favorite topics. So there's a lot of evidence, and you know, Catherine would back me up here, that whenever there is an increase in the price of tobacco, there is a reduction in the number of people who use it. This is particularly relevant to young people because the evidence shows that young people are very price sensitive. So if a product is more expensive, even if it's by 1 Rand more, they will reconsider whether they want to use that product or not. So we have been lobbying consistently for greater increases in the excise tax on all of these products, and obviously for heat not burn and e-cigarettes or vape products to also be taxed. And it's very, very disappointing that we're seeing increases of 1 Rand 12, 1 Rand 16 per year in the excise tax on tobacco products, particularly cigarettes. And this is not sufficient an increase for people to change their behavior, because 1 Rand 12 is nothing on something that already costs 30 Rand. The WHO recommends more than a 70% increase in excise taxes on an annual basis, excluding VAT.
Thank you very much. And so, in other words, as we move forward, part of the campaign is going to be looking at ensuring that we engage with government on taxation that will make an impact to the extent that cigarettes become less affordable, tobacco products become less affordable, because of course we do know that there are those people who continue to buy cigarettes, but the youth, for sure, we do know very few of them will buy cigarettes if the taxes are high, then and the price goes up. Thank you so much. Catherine, what are the myths, some of the myths that we're hearing about tobacco control, particularly perpetuated by the tobacco industry? What are some of the myths? And whilst you're still about to chip in, I'm going to come to the youth. Youth, get ready. Doesn't matter your age, as long as you are youth, I'm coming to you with questions, and there are prizes for that. Okay, Catherine.
One myth I would want to just speak about is the myth that people smoke because they like it. We know that the main product in tobacco products that make people continue to smoke or use them is the nicotine. And we also know that nicotine is an addictive drug. And so when someone takes or consumes tobacco or other vaping products, which are not tobacco products but are nicotine products, they choose at the first time, maybe because of peer pressure, or they want to be like their friends. But after that, it goes off their hands. Because as at that time when they smoke because of their friends, that is when their choice stops, because nicotine takes over. And so they continue to smoke because they are addicted, not because they like it. Another myth, which is connected to this, is that people think that tobacco reduces stress. I rather say tobacco reduces the stress that it causes. Because studies have shown that if you check non-smokers and smokers, smokers tend to be more stressed. And when they stop smoking or they are nicotine deprived, they tend to be more anxious. And so they need another dose of nicotine to continue to be stressless. And so tobacco is causing the stress that they think tobacco is curing. And so at the end of the day, you look at it that most of the information that people have about the goodness of tobacco is because they were told, or because the nicotine or the addiction or the behavioral connection to the addiction is talking. And so at the end of the day, we must rely on good science. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. So in other words, the main issue here about tobacco use is the nicotine addiction. And I think this is why it said cigarette or tobacco products, they are the only products in the world that kill the user the way that the manufacturer intended. Because the manufacturer add all these products which they know will make you addicted, will kill you, and it's the only product in the world that indeed kill you the way the manufacturer intended. And that is what our youth, the message, part of the message we want to leave with the youth of South Africa today. And thank you, Catherine, for raising that. It's really, really very important. Now, there's another myth as well, which is we keep hearing it all the time, particularly the industry. Right now, during these days, they say people have a right to smoke. Do people have a right to smoke? We have the Bill of Rights. Chapter 2 of the Constitution is the Bill of Rights. Is there in the Bill of Rights, is there a right to smoke, Savera? Is it a right to smoke? No.
No, our Bill of Rights does not say that anybody has the right to smoke. It does say that people have the right to health and health care. And there's no right in our Bill of Rights that says people have the right to smoke.
Thank you, Savera. And I think that's very important for every one of us to know. Whenever we hear this, there is no right to smoke. People can choose to for various reasons, whether because they do not know, but in the rights, amongst the rights, there's a right to an environment that is not harmful to health or well-being, Section 24B of the Constitution in the Bill of Rights. So the right to smoke, there's no right. People smoke because they're addicted, and that's exactly what the industry wants them to do, to smoke continuously. That is why they add nicotine. All right, I think at this point, it's sufficient for us to just wrap up. Before we do so, I'll just give each one of you a minute to conclude, your concluding remarks, before I hand over to Belinda for the next phase, for the next session. Catherine? Okay, you want Savera?
No, I should go first.
Okay, all right. Catherine, what do you want to leave with us, with the South African society, from the Medical Research Council as your concluding remarks? Just one.
Thanks, Zanele. I think that the most important message is that young people must own the future. The future is theirs to protect. The future is theirs to be tobacco-free, and it is possible.
Thank you. Own the future. It is yours, and it is possible. Savera?
Yes, So we've heard from the 4 organizations here, as well as the Department of Health and the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, but we actually have many other organizations, the Tobacco Control Advocacy Alliance, that is supporting this campaign, and that will be the arms and legs of this campaign. We have the health promotion sector, we have the Alcohol Policy Alliance sector, actually thousands of organizations around the country that are really committed to a smoke-free future, but also committed to public health. And we call on the public, the 80% of South Africans who already do not smoke, to support us in this campaign, to promote the bill, to pass the bill, and to protect our current generation as well as our future generation from the harm of tobacco products and all tobacco-related products.
Thank you so much, Savera. That's a mouthful. And so, South Africa, we've heard, firstly from government, about the bill, that the bill will definitely pass through up to parliamentary phase, and hopefully, Lynn will see it being passed in the next 2 years, being passed by Parliament. Thank you very much, yes. So we've heard that the bill is there, it's live, and this bill is evidence-based. We've heard from our research institution, MRC, how they feed information into the bill to strengthen it, so that whatever we do, it's evidence-based. We've heard also from civil society formations, Cancer Association, National Council Against Smoking, Heart Foundation, and so many others. Why did they decide to get involved in this campaign to ensure that the bill moves, the bill passes, but also to ensure that you and I, in particular, young people, the future generation of this country, are well protected, are well informed. When the bill passes, they take steps. We also heard that choose where you get information from. Social media, we know there's a lot in social media, but choose what you take from social media. Today, we've heard organizations that you can get in touch with, and I'm hoping later on we'll get their contact details. Later on we'll get their contact details so that whoever you are, as you are watching at home, wherever you are, you can contact them for information. And thank you very much. We're moving to the next session. Thank you very much, Belinda. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Yes, definitely a round of applause for all the information that we've managed to hear today. Of course, one interesting part of today's conversation, and I think Savera had mentioned it just a short while ago, is we have to use the types of channels that young people care about. Thank you so much. We have to use the types of channels that young people actually care about. We have to go where young people are, and we need to also make it cool not to smoke. And I think that's a very big part of what Protect Our Necks is really about. While we're not in this fight alone, as noted, we have the Department of Health with us. We have all the civil society organizations, some that you may have heard today here, or some that you might catch on some of our channels. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook, and you can also visit our website, which is www.protectournecks.co.za. We also have a regional tobacco control alliance that exists. They're called the African Tobacco Control Alliance. They're based in Togo, but they have 45 organizations, which is a network of tobacco control advocates all over our continent. We have a short audio message from the Executive Secretary, Leon Sessu, who is just giving a very short message to South African youth and also giving his backing to the Protect Our Next campaign. So let's hear from Leon's from the African Tobacco Control Alliance. Are you ready, guys?
Fine with us not having the Zoom.
Okay, so we'll come back to that. Let us rather
tonight.
take this opportunity, guys, to actually get together in terms of singing our national anthem before we all take the Tina Abantu pledge together here today. So, who would like to lead us in the national anthem? Is it the young people or the older generation that's going to lead us today? Yeah, let's go for it. Okay, let's go for it. Let's all stand.
South Africa, South Africa. Sounds a call to come together, and united we shall stand. Let us live and strive for freedom in South Africa, our land.
So awesome. You know, you might be wondering, why did we ask you guys, you can all take your seats, why did we ask you guys to actually sing the South African anthem at such a stage in our program? Well, it was very important for us to put it right here in the program because a lot of what is said in the song
Today is the Youth Day,
duplicated
and special days like this provide a great
This is ours. It's our opportunity as not only young people, but it's all South Africans to be a part of this. It's a very important moment where we get to show our unity, and we saw, like you can see in some of the photos and the posters that are around here, the videos that you watch, that we truly want to stay together in this and see the bill to, like Zanele said, its natural conclusion, and that is to be passed in Parliament. So obviously today has been just a snapshot of what you can expect from the Protect Our Necks campaign. We're going to be out after we all understand COVID is bringing a lot of limitations to our lives, but we will be out in some shape or form, whether it's online or offline, and you'll be hearing more about the campaign as we go along. Now, together, as we showed you guys a little bit earlier, the Tina Abantu pledge that was brought to us by the Batslia College students, you also heard it on video, but what we'd like to do today, just as a form of solidarity with the few people that are in this room, if we're able to take the pledge together by just repeating what is seen in the pledge today, I hope you guys can have a look properly at what the pledge says. And let's actually take the pledge together before we conclude and actually get this campaign officially started. Let's take the pledge together, and you can stand if you want, you can sit, let's stand. And let's take the pledge together. Just mind so that we definitely can see the pledge. Just mind out of the way so we can see the pledge. Great. So let's take the pledge together, guys, today. And hopefully, as we go along, we'll be able to know this pledge off by heart. But for starters, let's take it here today together. Let's go for it together. So, Tina Abantu. Let's go together. Pledge. Okay. Okay, let's start again. In unity, guys. Let's do this in unity. Okay, so together. Tina Abantu. Pledge to fight for the right to air that is clean. Ubuntu, Ubuntu, Gabantu. Tina Abantu are the seeds who will grow to trees that reach 100 feet. Tina Abantu, pledge to fight for those who aren't free. We will not accept defeat. We will not retreat. Tina Abantu will open eyes too blind to see. From the smoke that permeates the very air we breathe. Every minute of every hour, a cigarette is lit. We will not cower, we will not quit. Tina Abantu have the power to extinguish it. The earth is burning, seas are churning. Knowledge is power, but wisdom is acting on what we are learning. Make the mistakes of the past the second chance for tomorrow. Tina Abantu will be the last to stand. We lead, we will not follow. To leave smoking in the past and have a smoke-free tomorrow. Umuntu, Umuntu, Gabantu. Across our beautiful land, Tina Abantu. A smoke-free generation. Together we can. Tina Abantu. We will rise from the ash. Joe, you really killed us there on the last bit. So, the last line of Tina Abantu is still a mystery, Joash, so let's go for it. Let's take it from the last part where we were in unity. Together we can. Tina Abantu will rise from the ash. Tina Abantu for a tobacco-free child, woman, and man. Thank you so much, everybody, for today. Officially, Protect Our Next. Tina Abantu lives and will exist, and let us have one last look at some of the footage that's been created. Thank you all for joining us today.
Tina Abantu pledge to fight together for the right to air that is clean. Tina Abantu are the seeds who will grow to trees that reach 100 feet. We, the people, pledge to protect our next. We will not accept defeat. We will not retreat. Tina Abantu will open minds and eyes too blind to see. From the secondhand smoke that permeates the very air we breathe. Every second, every minute, every hour a cigarette is lit. We will not cower. We will overcome. We will win. Tina Abantu, we have the power to extinguish it. The earth is burning, seas are churning. Knowledge is power, but wisdom is acting on what we are learning. Make the mistakes of the past a second chance for tomorrow. Tina Abantu will take a stand. We will lead, we will not follow. To leave polluted lungs in the past and have a smoke-free tomorrow. Umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. Tina Abantu will rise from the ash. Tina Abantu for a tobacco-free world for child, woman and man. Tina Abantu for a tobacco-free land. Say yes to the bill and no to tobacco, South Africa.
So thank you, everybody. Thanks for actually being part of today. Thanks for taking the pledge. Thanks for listening to all our content. We have so much going on all our channels, so please do follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, visit our website, visit our YouTube channel. And just in terms of today, thank you so much to Conhill for actually allowing us to be here today in an epic venue. We've had a great time with young people who have been here. Of course, if you haven't been here in person today due to the limitations, you wouldn't have gotten to enjoy the Saturday soundtrack, who provided us with some great music all the way from Pretoria. We also had a very interesting live graffiti happening outside with Tebogo, who is actually putting together some interesting graffiti of the 5 points that Sam and Sharon spoke about in terms of the bill. So there's some great graffiti work that has been put together. Sam will help me since he hasn't exited youth. So this is just 2 of them, but there's 5 that are in creation. You can have a little look at them as well when they're done, and it's actually happening live on the website as well, so you can have a look at what our great graffiti artist is putting together. Backbeat Productions also helped us today in terms of streaming to the different audiences on our Facebook channel. We're also very, very thankful for our communications agency, COT, that has put together all this amazing stuff. and we are really, really appreciative to every single person that is with us today. A big thumbs up to the Department of Health. Thanks for joining us today. We're with you in this, and we believe in everything that you guys are standing for when it comes to the health of our nation. And to our amazing civil society groups joining us from Cape Town, from Durban, and here as well. Let's just remember we've got the Medical Research Council, a very specific unit within there, which Catherine Egby is representing. We've got Severa Kaladin from the National Council Against Smoking, Lorraine Govender from Cancer, and Prof. Pamela Naidu from the Heart and Stroke Foundation. Before you go, make sure that you capture this day with us with some of our frames, our Protect Our Necks frames, use it on your socials, and just keep with us in this fight as we push on to make sure that the bill is passed and we are able to protect the health of our nation. Thanks everybody, cheers for now. Guys, lunch. Hi everybody, you can get some lunch. The ladies are handing it out.